Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Jesse Jackson III, best-selling author and facilitator of the Don't Kick 'em Out book and training series. Welcome. And we're continuing our trainings and videos about school culture and how do you go about improving those things? How do you get your organization where you want it to be, whether it's a district or individual school? How do you lift that organization up to where you get the best culture results? Now, culture by definition, once again, we said is what we believe and how we behave. What is the culture in your organization? What we consistently find is there is a cultural disconnect, and the cultural disconnect that I'm referencing is always distinguishes itself at the class level. Now, class is not finances. It's not social economic. As a matter of fact, some of the worst advice and the worst training we've ever received was that poverty's money. If poverty was money, that would mean we could write a check and this stuff could be solved. Poverty is not money by itself. It never has been. Poverty is a mentality. It is an emotional condition. It is a set of values. And when you put a 90% working middle class staff and values and mentality in place, and 90% of our student population, or anything over 70%, comes from an impoverished reality. Now notice, I break this thing down on 3 levels. We have middle class mentality, poor man mentality, poverty mentality. Now notice, those are 3 different separations of mentality, because this is what has happened here. We have a lot of principals and superintendents that will say, my district was impoverished, Title I free and reduced, when in truth, they had a poor district. A poor district is a lack of resource. That's cash, liquid. So let's go. There is a middle class mentality, the working middle class, that's who runs education. And there's a poor man's mentality toward education. And then there's a poverty idea toward education. Let's get to this. Let's break this down. Now, we always talk about and showing the significant difference between the middle class and poverty mentality. Let's look at number 1. So with the middle class, values education greatly. That's our mentality. Man, school is important. You want to be something in life, school. It's important, non-negotiable. The poor man, a lot of families didn't do well at education. They believe in it and they believe it can improve your life, but it's more hope. Because at the end of the day, if I don't get an education, I still got to go to work. But a poverty man's mentality is where you see the great devalue. It's where kids are talking crazy, saying they don't care and they don't give it, like it's a totally different mentality toward education. I don't care. Why? Come up in entitlement mentality. So education becomes now devalued. Let's look at number 2. What is the middle class attitude about school discipline? Well, we know. See, it's handled internal. The middle class, and see, this is what y'all think. That's why y'all want to call home. That's why y'all want to send kids home. Because in your mind, if your kid's teacher called you, you would do what? You would handle it. That's what you're still thinking. So you're thinking, no, go home. Let me call your parent. Your parent's going to do what I would do, because that's our view of parenting and how it should be handled. Now, once again, I'm not giving a right or wrong. I'm showing you the value conflict. Well, let's look at the poverty side of it. When you call home in a poverty mentality, how does it get handled? The school will handle it. My number might not be working. I blame you. What did you do to him? What is he do? What are you doing to Jonathan to make him curse you out and hit and punch you? They avoid it, right? So there's hitting and kicking and spitting going on at school. I got parents that won't take the call. I got parents that are disappearing. I got parents that say, well, you handle it. Even had one parent at one school, the kid went to physically acting out, and the parent walked out and said, you guys can handle that. He does that at home. Y'all can handle it while you're here. That's what we're talking about. See, it's different mentality. See, school discipline is internal. See, middle class, I'm going to handle it. Parent, that's our mind. We have poverty culture, it's blame. It's school knows better. It's always give it back to you. So you notice the discipline in poverty mentality in that cultural ideal is outsourced. Okay. What does that create? Conflict, frustration, unhappiness, and there's an ongoing problem. You see also in the middle class, they're urged to keep it together. Urged, keep it together. Take your medicine, do whatever you have to do, take your script, go to your therapist, do what you need to do. Keep it in, come to work, handle your problems. Notice in poverty culture, they're encouraged to act out, encouraged to say how you feel, encouraged to do how you feel. So what you start to see, folks, is this type of conflict in values and how we do things and how we view things is creating some great conflicts in our schools, in our organizations. Because if we cannot correct this cultural disconnect where we review our mentality and our values as an organization, and we look at what are the views and values of our clients, this is why we have created all of these discipline policies. And everybody's taking a poke at what works with discipline. You got one group that's PBIS and got some other groups who's restoring discipline, restorative practices. Notice how the hit and miss. It's because people do not fully understand, one, their population. Guys, there is a approach to discipline. See, discipline, this is not, if you are in a middle class working district in the suburbs, okay, when you are in the suburbs and you are in those middle working class neighborhoods where the parent is a partner in the discipline infrastructure, things like PBIS will work fine. Okay, it will work fine. Things like removal from school will work fine, perfectly, because the infrastructure supports that. When you are in poverty cultures, heavy poverty cultures, where the mentality and values are in a certain direction, you would have to be aware of how the manipulation occurs with policy. For example, all right? Now, you go to the suburban middle class schools, okay? Or the suburban working middle class schools. There's some things there that are not gonna ever be tolerated. It's not gonna be tolerated. Right? So if you've got a kid hitting and spitting in one of those middle class working environments, that situation is going to be managed in-house with the parent, but there's going to be a no tolerance for that. They don't tolerate that mess at these schools. They don't tolerate this stuff at the school my kids go to. They're not dealing with that mess. You do that mess, man, we get out of here. We're not doing that. But now notice, flip, let's go on the other side. You come to an impoverished community with the school right in the middle of it. Then we bring all of this middle class philosophy, setting up the rules and the boundaries. And then we got kids in here hitting, spitting on teachers, punching teachers in the face. And then what's the alibi? Oh, well, our hands are tied. Wow. Guess what? That other school's hands wasn't tied. There it is. See, there's the culture conflict. It is a disconnect in what we know is acceptable, in what's socially acceptable. Are we, what are we allowing this kid to do? So what I'm asking all organizations, this starts at the top. We have to get back to, let's sit down, and this behavior needs to be discussed. We need to have some understanding of policies. What type of culture are our policies and approaches to discipline creating? Because I cannot have an infrastructure where teachers are assaulted and hurt, because this is why we're seeing the rise of teachers lashing back. Okay? Teachers are responding and protecting themselves. Now, once again, you'll never get support from me for teacher going out of pocket, doing certain things, overreacting. And no, I will not support that. What am I saying? This is on leadership. This is why I'm asking all leadership. This is why I'm asking districts. So let's bring central office in. Let's bring principals in. Let's sit down and have some clarity on discipline policies that we know are acceptable and what is not. We have to have a new evaluation when we talk about our culture and what we're going to allow, what works, and where the boundaries are. Because what I'm seeing is that now that we went into the suspension ban era, that's where we're at right now. You can't suspend kids anymore, okay? There's going to be financial penalty. Now we're in a new time in history. That means we got to sit down and reevaluate this stuff. What is acceptable? What do we believe? What behavior will we allow? Are kids walking your halls threatening, saying, I'm a bleep, 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 and all this? Look, what are we doing? So this is why I'm asking. I'm asking all superintendents, all central office, all principals. This is why I'm asking you. This is the training and talk we need. I do behavior. This is not this theory. There's no theory. See, there's some understanding you have to understand about. See, behavior is a very direct philosophy, and it's a team philosophy. It's everybody is on the same page, and we have clarity about how things are done. What we are doing is we're still doing it under middle class thought processes. Good cop, bad cop. Oh, you can tear up my room. You can punch me, spit on me, and we're gonna de-escalate you. Listen, I'll leave you with this story. And this is how serious I am about it. Now, I really hope people are hearing me, and I hope your nerves are I want you to get your emotions, because what I'm saying is the total fact. People who don't listen to me, see, it's when these injuries start happening, okay? And see, I was at that school when that man's wife, that kid hit that man's wife, and her husband came up to that school to confront that principal. See, I was there the day it happened. See, I hear all of the theorists. I hear all of you researchers. It's talking and saying what you think. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, I come from the real world, reality. The schools I go to are steeped in reality. The jails that I rehabilitate people in, it's reality. See, you creating ideas. I live in this brutal, cold world, where one thing that can never happen on my watch, nobody can get hurt. We have to have some ground rules and understanding. And what does that start with? Leadership. Everybody sitting down and let's get to a place of understanding. I'll leave you with this story. I had a situation on the West Coast out in Washington, and very disturbing situation where they had a situation where they were at a school and they had kids who obviously were special ed in services or in qualifications or things of that nature. And some of their practices were to let kids, tear up property, when they have their little baby meltdowns, and, tear up property, and they can curse everybody out and punch everybody. And in this one situation where this was a kid that everybody had concerns about, and we're talking about like, hey, this is out of control. We're letting this go in the wrong direction. Well, this same kid who the school let develop that, I don't have to listen to you and I can physically violate you. Well, this kid had a run-in with the police on the street. He was somewhere doing something in the store he shouldn't have been. They called the police. He's cursing the store owner out and doing the same stuff he does with us. Well, the police show up. Well, the police don't know he's 504. Do they care about his IP? They didn't, because I know they gave him a command. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this went bad. They gave him a command, and he gave that same sauce that he gives to us. He gave it to the law, and the law did not respond how we do at our schools. What am I saying? I'm saying that the time has come in our organizations to really evaluate whether we have create rules that make it easy for us to get through the day and long-term set kids up to run into a buzzsaw in the real world. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not going to listen to another superintendent or principal tell me that your hands are tied. That's incompetence. Everybody's held to the same rules. Guys, everybody's dealing with the same rules. Explain to me how one district chooses to go passive aggressive and the other district has structure and control with the same kid. Everybody's having the same rules. So this is why that dog won't hunt. Everybody's under the same rules. We're all been screwed by the policy. So why is it that one company with the same kid is approaching it one way and another one allows certain things to happen? I am challenging leadership. It's time for training. It's time for advisement. I am using my videos and I do these videos for the people, my clients. I find it very interesting that over a decade in business, that 90 5% of everybody who's ever worked with us is still with us. I find that, and I think, first of all, I feel thankful for that. But what it says is when people get answers, they stay with the partnership. I didn't go into it thinking partnership. I didn't know you could have a partnership, but that's what it's become. The schools we work with, they stay with us. Why? They need answers. This business has changed for the worse. I wrote this book, this Don't Kick 'Em Out, right? We started with this, right? And this is where I was really given the insight from the inside of a juvenile facility when we're really rehabilitating people and really helping kids get better. Now, you remember, I'm accountable to a judge and to the family that this kid hurt. I gotta know what I'm doing. I gotta be able to get in there and get this kid to understand that his conduct doesn't work. And quite frankly, there's some people that will never show remorse. So why do we think that's the manual? Act like you're remorseful. Well, the truth is, until they get it, they don't get it. So this is why this read material. If you haven't read my books, suspension is not an option, no longer an option. Eliminating excuses, how to teach and deal with kids in trauma. I wrote a book for the school boards, closing the school board gap. What's the school board's role in this discipline process? We've got to have policies that the company agrees on. We can't have situations where a family can go behind a superintendent, go behind a principal, and get a kid back in school who's dangerous, who's out of control, who's doing crazy stuff. We have got to be on the same page. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. This is a clarion call. All superintendents, all principals. When you're going into your 2020, we have to be on the same page. We have to have a team process, and we have to have clarity on our policies and procedures when it comes to discipline. I am encouraging and asking all of you to start processes and discussions and training processes to evaluate where we're at with our policies. And is it working? Is it safe? Is it trending in the right direction? There's many districts that are already heading in the right direction. I salute you. You were proactive when the rule came down and you got ahead of it. And there's some that are stalling, that are in dangerous places. I am here for you. I do not have a lot of time. I have a waiting list currently of clients. I'm always trying to get people in and out, meaning get people on my schedule when I can, because I am totally committed to the process of helping us transition to a new phase of American education. We can no longer suspend children. That means we're going to have to know the difference between who we can help and who we can't. We're going to have to know that difference, because that difference can save someone's life. We could actually know, we could be putting a kid out we need to be working with. We could be keeping a kid that shouldn't be here. And we have got to understand that difference. I'm Dr. Jesse Jackson III. If you find these things valuable, I'm really encouraging you to reach out. Right now is the time for training, and the training process starts at the top. It starts with management, and then you take it to the teachers. The key is you start with management, then you take it to the teachers. That's how the process goes. You start with management, then you take it to the teachers, and that is the big time deal. If you have not read books in my library, our new book, Closing the Poverty Gap, Closing the Relationship Gap, Closing the Leadership Gap. Listen, man, I don't know what you're doing. Where's your studies going? And you're not getting, listen, we think it's valuable. We think it's really good. Give it a try. If it works for you, great. I appreciate that. And I always love feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, if I can help you, by all means, give me a call. I appreciate you guys. Listen, have a very restful break. We're going to need it, because 2020 is going to give us the greatest challenges we have ever seen in this business, and you want to be prepared. And from my experiences, I found that training is that advantage. Who you train with is vitally important to the results and outcomes you get. I'll see you next time. Be well.